then in week 13, we asked you to read, or we asked you to look at the WA 730 report, and we asked you to reflect on what was in that report, which tied together the idea of physical activity and injury prevention. And I'm going to show you a sample answer. I've asked the student if I can release their sample answer to show you the level of what I was looking for and what is good reflection, so that you kind of see what your answers should be sort of looking like in your exam. The 730 report was a West Australian report that ran for about 7 minutes that I asked students to watch last week to complement the other side of the quiz. I asked a question of students for you to pose a reflective piece, which is quite hard for first year students to do, because being reflective is something that comes as a function of time, and it is a hard thing to do. So well done to everyone who's done it so far, because you've done a good job. I also used this word, how did contemporary issues in both physical activity promotion and injury prevention affect the choices we make in today's society? And that's a little remiss of me, because I found out from the students that contemporary was not a word that students were familiar with, and that challenged them straight up. So a few had to Google, what does contemporary mean? How does that fit with this question? So if that leads me to, if in the exam, I will be there during reading time, and if in the exam there's any words that you don't feel familiar with, you can always put up your hand and ask me to clarify it during the reading time. But contemporary, really I was asking you to think about, and if you remember the 730 report video, they started off with that little scene from like the 60s, the black and white scene, and then they jumped forward. So I wanted you to think about what happened historically and then what happens in today's society. And that's why I asked you, what are the contemporary issues? What are the things we're faced with right now that are important? So this is actually, I took two students' answers, and I kind of mashed them together, but it was largely one student's answer that was very good. And I thought that this highlighted what I would expect a student to be writing after they'd looked at that video, and then I spoke to the student. They actually didn't go and consult any other text or lectures or information. They just wrote this, and I think this is a really nice answer. They started off broad by saying physical activity promotion and injury prevention are both important public health issues. So there's a nice way to start an introduction, for example, if you're starting your long answer. Over time, so then they took the idea that I looked at something historically and now I'm moving forward to what it looks like in present day. Over time, keeping children free from injury and creating safe play environments has changed. However, the health and social benefits for children remain important. The 730 WA report, or 730 report WA, so they give it context, so I'm going to tell you about that report, suggests parents overprotect children from injury, and this may impact on things like creative thinking, learning from mistakes through risky behaviour, physical activity levels, and a child's emotional and physical health. So here the students started to bring together some ideas of what they've learnt throughout the semester. Currently we know more than ever the importance of physical activity, yet physical activity levels need to increase and sedentary behaviour decrease for health gains in children. So they're using nice terminology here. We want to increase physical activity levels, we want to decrease sedentary behaviour. So it's a nice style of writing. It's a nicer style than going, we want kids to be more active and we want them to sit down less. That's too colloquial. We want this kind of style. Busier lives, improved research, technology, fear of litigation and policy all affect the choices parents make around their children's lifestyle. And the student might have paraphrased from the article. Injury is halved in the last 20 years due to some of these changes. However, will we start to see an increase in injury when they are no longer cotton wooled, because it said children are now wrapped in cotton wool, when they become adults? Parents need to keep their children safe, but not to the detriment of their physical fitness and their health and well-being. So I thought that was a very nice reflection of what was in that article, and I think this is a very mature and very well-developed type of writing. So the student had the opportunity to watch it, reflect and write. I've tweaked it a little bit and de-identified and modified it, but for me, if this was the kind of response that a student could come up with in a short answer or an exam sort of situation, you know, that's an outstanding answer. That's for me like a 5 out of 5 in an exam or a reflective situation. So for all of you students who are here today, you've had the opportunity to look through that. Because I've suggested that you review the 7:30 report and review your reflective component for the exam, I'm going to remove that from the slides that I pop up on Blackboard.